session. Parties and counsel are present. All members of our jury and our alternates are present. Our witness is back on the witness stand. Mr. Moline, you may continue your examination.
Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. LaRock, we were, before the break, talking about activity that was occurring on January 31st, 2010, correct?
That's right.
Did you find any, were you able to locate any text messages or anything of that nature on any of the two devices that we were talking about?
There was one text message that I wanted to point out from Joseph to Chase Merritt.
Okay, and that is 3H.
Objection, hearsay.
Counsel approach with the exhibit. The objection is overruled. We may proceed, Mr. Moline.
Thank you. Do you have the exhibit number on the back of 3H?
Yes, 1034.
What are we looking at here?
We are looking at a text message which was found on the device named Device 2 Motorola MB200, top left of the screen of the page, very, very, very top left. Thank you. MB200 DEXT Click, I believe is how you pronounce that, CLIQ. So this is the forensic copy of a cell phone containing text messages, email data that clearly indicates Joseph McStay.
There's an XRY there. We had testimony from Detective Schrader indicating that they viewed these types of devices through a program called X-ray.
XRY, I haven't heard it referred to as X-ray,
okay.
But XRY is the name of the forensic program used by law enforcement and used by myself in this case to view the text messages on this device.
And was this device identified as belonging to Joseph by law enforcement?
Objection calls for hearsay and assumes facts not in evidence.
The objection is to hearsay is sustained.
What did you learn about this device when you examined this device?
I saw records on this device showing text messages, as well as there was definitely an email account listed that was one of Joseph McStay's email accounts. The contents of text messages also seemed to indicate that this was Joseph McStay.
Right. And you found a text message on January 3rd?
Yes, this text message on screen.
January 3rd, 2010?
Yes.
And it has a telephone number 2?
Telephone number 2, that's Chase Merritt's cell phone.
Okay. And the text?
So the text itself is, this is January 3rd. I'll go over the timestamp of this in just a bit, but January 3rd, we're seeing word up and Happy New Year. I truly hope it's a very, very good year for us, ... So this is a text message from Joseph to Chase Merritt. The timestamp on this is listed, I said this needs just a little bit of explaining. This is listed as January 3rd, 2010, 3:34 a.m. UTC. So in the world of timestamps, we are in Pacific Standard Time, I'm sure we all know. UTC is basically sort of the dividing ground for where the beginning of these time zone offsets begin. So basically what this translates to, UTC is 8 hours different from Pacific Standard Time. It's just another time zone, UTC. So this is actually translated to, in Pacific time, this is January 2nd, 7:34 p.m. January 2nd, 7:34 p.m. And the reason that it's listing UTC, it's very common in forensic programs to use this zone, UTC. It's sort of a standard which helps prevent things from getting confused between the different time zones.
We had looked at some activity in QuickBooks as it relates to Joseph's cell phone records. Do you recall doing a bit of that earlier?
Yes, we, in my last testimony, we went over a check on January 22nd that was documented within Joseph's records, and we were able to see that there was a call made from Joseph to Chase's cell phone shortly thereafter that check.
And you had indicated that you started to see a pattern, is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay, I want to talk a little bit about that pattern. Did you notice that there were subsequent checks issued and documented in QuickBooks that correlated to cell phone or telephone calls between Joseph and Chase?
I'm going to object as beyond the scope of expert testimony and is an improper opinion, save for argument.
I did compare the QuickBooks Online records and the checks that were issued that were listed to Charles Merritt or Metro Sheet Metal Company. I compared that with the phone records of Joseph McStay because I wanted to see if what I had noticed in terms of a call being made to Chase after a check was issued was consistent. And what I found was for the period of time for which I have the phone records, that a phone call was made to Chase every single time that a check was issued per the QuickBooks Online records.
So, do you want to, and you had mentioned there's 2 QuickBooks Online accounts that you found. Do you want to start with the custom, or you said the other one was the EIP account, correct?
If you give me just a moment, I can tell you which. Yes, those are the 2 accounts, custom and EIP. But if you give me just a moment, I think I can say where it makes sense to begin. Actually, what I think would make the most sense, because we'll be going back and forth for this between the custom and EIP account, I think it makes sense to follow chronologically the phone records of Joseph McStay.
Okay, so that's Exhibit 1045 and 7D.
Correct.
Okay, so if we turn to the first section there, page 19 of 50, that would be January 4th, is that correct?
January 4th, that's right.
Okay, so go ahead and if you want to talk about this exhibit and that date.
Okay, so just in general right now, I want to point out that on January 4th, from the period of, there are 3 items on this list that have to do with Chase Merritt's cell phone. 9:52 a.m. We have a 4-minute call to Chase Merritt. Still, all of this is on the same date, January 4th. 11:29 a.m. We have a text message to Chase Merritt, and 11:57 a.m. we have another phone call. This one's just listed as 1 minute to Chase Merritt.
And which account do you want me to go to on the QuickBooks at this point? Do you want me to go to 7A or 7B?
One moment, please. Please go to 7B.
And that's exhibit 1043.
Yes, it is.
And we're gonna go to page, it looks like page 3 of that exhibit.
Yes, that's correct. Page 3, yes. We're looking for January 4th,
Okay.
2010.
Right there.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. So the. Sorry. No problem. Okay. So here we have 3 checks are added by user Joseph McStay. The listing is Metro Sheet Metal C. 10:30 a.m. added check, Metro Sheet Metal C. 10:31 a.m. the same, added check. 10:32 a.m. the same, added check. Comparing this with the phone records, we see that at 9:52 a.m., so about 40 minutes before this activity, we have the call to Chase Merritt, and 11:30 and 11:57 a.m. we have text message and call to Chase Merritt. So in this particular instance, let's see here. So in this particular instance, it is about an hour after the check is issued.
If we go to the next page, I think we covered January 22nd, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so we would go to page 45 of 50 on exhibit 1045, which is the phone records. And we go to February 1st, is that correct?
That is the next entry that I really want to speak about, but if you could please go to the page before
Objection,
that.
non-responsive, move to strike.
I just, since I do think it's important to go chronologically in this, I just want to show that these are the January 22nd 2 phone calls that we just discussed. So just to recap.
So objection, no question pending, move to strike the answer.
Sustained.
All right, so what are we pointing out on January 22nd?
On January 22nd, this is just to recap what we were just looking at because it's important for the context of what we're speaking about now, which is in the afternoon on January 22nd, we saw in both QuickBooks Online and in Joseph's records of the Chase accounting that a check was issued to, two checks were issued, and very shortly thereafter, a phone call was made to Chase Merritt.
Okay. And then we go to the next page, and the next date would be, do you want to do January 31st or February 1st? Because we just covered January 31st.
I believe January 31st is the next date.
Okay.
Oh, actually, can you give me just a moment on that one? My apologies, February 1st is correct.
Okay. So that's going to the phone records, exhibit 1045. And that would be page 45 of 50. Do you see it up there?
Yes, I do.
Okay. And what are we looking at?
Okay. So there are 2 phone calls that are highlighted here, both for February 1st, 2010, So keep in mind, contextually, this is 3 days before the family disappears. We have a phone call we have a phone call to a number that I don't recognize, listed as Boston, Massachusetts, at 12:41 p.m. And we also then have at 1:03 p.m. An 11-minute phone call to Chase Merritt.
Okay, and just to remind the jury as to the last column, where there's a location, the top of that column that is identified as originating cell site, is that correct?
Let me see that. Yes, originating cell site.
Okay, so these two calls, the originating cell site for those calls would be the Fallbrook, correct?
Correct.
All right. Okay, so we have these two calls that you just pointed out. Now, do you want to go to 7A or B?
Please go to 7A.
Is that on the back 1044?
I believe it's, hang on, hang on. $1042.
1042, okay. And what page?
Page 3 of the exhibit. We're looking for the same date, which is February 1st, 2010.
Okay. Okay. Can you see it on the top there?
Yes, for now, could we please maximize the, this one? Yes, thank you, so we can see the entire, February 1st section. Okay.
So chronologically, the way that this activity log shows it, it's from bottom to top, correct?
That's right.
Okay. So if we start towards the middle-ish of this page, you see February 1st, it looks like the first time would be 12:20 p.m., is that correct?
12:20 p.m., yes.
Okay, and what are we looking at?
12:20 p.m. we see that user Joseph McStay signs in. This is the custom account. As differentiated from before, we were looking at the EIP account. We're now dealing with the custom account.
Okay. So there's a sign in at 12:20,
Correct.
another sign in at 12:21.
That's right.
What does that mean? How can you be signed in and then sign in again?
So frequently what that can mean, from my experience, is sometimes if you have perhaps different multiple windows open, and you can sign in and then you go to the other window for whatever reason. Maybe you close the browser, you go and you sign in again. Often you'll see a sign in and then a sign out, but you don't, very, very clearly from looking at records throughout all of these QuickBooks logs, there's not always a sign out associated with every single sign in.
Okay. And it's only 1 minute later, correct, between the two sign in and sign in?
That's right.
Okay. And then at 12:24, what are we looking at?
12:24, we have user Joseph McStay, added vendor Charles Merritt, all in lowercase.
All in lowercase. Now, would you mind going to the bottom of that same page? I know it's a different date, but I'm going to ask you to do it anyway. The bottom of that same page. We'll scroll down. Do you see that?
Yes, I do.
Okay, on January 25th, a vendor's added and an account is added. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. What the first entry at the bottom is an added vendor, correct?
Yes. 11:59 a.m.
And it says EIP jobs.
That's correct.
And then there's an account added at right after that at 12:03 p.m.
12:03 p.m. an account added day labor, all in lowercase.
Okay. And just on that same day, if we go to the previous page at the top, it's still on January 25th at the same during the same time frame. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct. Could you scroll up just a little bit? Thank you.
So we see in relationship to the the times, you have a sign in at 11:34 a.m., correct?
Correct?
And then you have a vendor added, SDG&E,
That's right.
San Diego Gas and Electric.
I did look up SDGE and that was the first result that I came upon, yes.
Okay. And that's at 11:58, correct?
Correct, 11:58 a.m., user Joseph McStay added vendor SDGE.
Okay. And so in that same session, after adding the vendor SDGE, let's see, 2 plus 3 is 5, right? 5 minutes later, in the same session, day labor is added in all lowercase.
That's correct.
Okay. Is there anything that you wanted to say about that date, or you want to keep going?
Just,
Okay.
just to recap, 11:34 a.m. we have a sign-in. 11:58 a.m. added vendor SDGE. 1 minute after that, added vendor EIP jobs.
Unobject, asked and answered, cumulative, 352.
Sustained is cumulative.
And then at 12:04, there's a sign out, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. And so if we go back up to February 1st, we were talking about February 1st, correct?
Yes.
Okay. What's the next item in progression you wanted to talk about? You had indicated that a vendor had been added, Charles Merritt, all lowercase, correct?
At 12:24 p.m. Correct.
So adding, now since this is a separate account, and we just saw an account added in all lowercase, is this entry of adding the vendor in all lowercase consistent with that?
Objection, misstates testimony.
Objection sustained is calling for speculation and conclusion.
What's the next thing in progression that occurs?
We see 2 additional sign-ins followed by 2 checks.
Okay. And those are at 12:34 and 12:37?
That's right.
Okay. And let me know when you want to, if you want to keep going here or you want to go to exhibit 1045 again.
I'd just like to, before we go to the phone records, to compare those, I'd like to point out that 12:37 p.m. user Joseph McStay, 12:34 p.m. User Joseph McStay added check to Charles Merritt, all in lowercase. And at 12:37 p.m. user Joseph McStay added check to Charles Merritt, all in lowercase.
Okay. And going to exhibit 1045. This is the time frame we were talking about, the 2 calls, correct?
That's correct.
One call was to a Boston number that you didn't recognize, or a 617 number.
Yes, correct.
And what the call to the Boston numbers at 1241.
That's right.
So just after the check is added, the second check to Charles Merritt is added, correct?
That's right. Just after the second check is when the call to Boston happens. So 12:37 is the added check. 12:41 is the call to Boston.
And that call is for 18 minutes.
Yes, that's right.
So 1241 plus 18 minutes equals what?
That'd be 12:59.
So 12:59 is, and then at 13:03, which was 1:03, so shortly after he finishes his call, he calls Mr. Merritt, correct?
That's right.
And that's an 11-minute call.
That's right.
Okay. And so going back, do you want to go back to exhibit, or is there something more about the phone records you wanted to talk about?
There's more on the QuickBooks Online records actually that I should mention. Okay, so looking at the progression here, let's jump back and forth between these two to see what's happening in comparison. So we already discussed the added checks to Charles Merritt, all in lowercase. At 12:40 p.m., user Joseph McStay signed out. Notice that that is almost identical to the time of the call to Boston from Joseph McStay's cell phone.
Objection, that misstates the exhibits.
Overruled.
Well, he signs out at 12:40. The call to Boston was 12:41, correct?
Objection, relevance.
Overruled.
Yes, that is correct.
It appears that while he's on the phone to Boston, he signs in again, correct?
We see it.
Objection assumes facts not in evidence and speculation.
Overruled.
User Joseph McStay signs in again 2 minutes later, which is during the call to Boston.
And then there's a deleted check 4092 at 12:47.
Correct. Again, for Charles Merritt, all in lowercase.
And another deleted check at 12:52 p.m.
Correct. Again, Charles Merritt, all in lowercase.
Now, all of that activity actually is before the call that is made at 1:03 p.m., correct?
That's right.
Okay. So all of that occurs. It appears, at least looking at these records, Mr. LaRock, that Joseph is on the phone with Boston.
Objection lacks foundation, misstates the evidence, call for speculation.
Objection sustained is cumulative.
Okay. After February 1st, what's the next, or did you want to talk about February 1st?
The last entry is user Joseph McStay signs out of QuickBooks Online, signs out of the custom account at 12:52 p.m. 11 minutes later, there is a call to Chase Merritt's cell phone.
Okay. And then on February 2nd, going up to February 2nd, on, now we're still looking at the 1042, the custom account.
Yes, that's correct.
At 11:27, there's an added check to Charles Merritt, correct?
Give me just a moment to catch up on my pages here. Yes. Okay, so February 2nd, yes, 2 added checks, 11:27 a.m. and 11:29 a.m. User Joseph McStay added check to Charles Merritt in each case. In each case, Charles Merritt is all in lowercase.
And then 8 minutes later, both checks are deleted.
Correct. 8 minutes after the second check, 11:37 a.m. and 11:37 a.m. Both of these happen during the same minute. User Joseph McStay deletes 2 checks to Charles Merritt, all in lowercase.
And if we go to the phone records, page 46 of 50, and that is exhibit 1045. If we go to February 2nd, it looks like there's a call from Joseph to Chase at 11:40, 3 minutes after the checks are deleted, correct?
Let's see here. February 2nd, call to Chase Merritt's cell phone, 11:40, which indeed is 3 minutes after the 2 checks are deleted and the sign out.
And it looks like the call is made, and it looks like it's 1 minute, and then there's a call back at 12:04 from Chase Merritt to Joseph, is that correct?
That's right. So let's see here, 11:40 a.m., 1 minute duration call, followed by 12:04 p.m., received call incoming from Chase Merritt's cell phone. The call lasted 14 minutes.
Okay. Going to February 4th. Is there something else you want to talk about February 2nd, or we can go to February 4th?
We can go to February 4th.
Okay. And we're still looking at exhibit 1042, which is the custom account. And we see some activity in the morning, is that correct? 11:56 a.m. There's a sign-in?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay.
11:56 a.m. User Joseph McStay signs into the custom account.
Signs out at 11:58.
That's right.
Okay. Then there doesn't appear to be any activity until 7:56 p.m.
That's right.
Sign in.
7:56 p.m. User Joseph McStay signed in to the custom account.
A check is added at 7:59 p.m.
7:59. Yes, check is added. User Joseph McStay added check to Charles Merritt, all in lowercase, at 7:59 p.m.
Check is deleted at 8:05 p.m.,
That's right.
which is consistent with what we saw, the checks being added to Charles Merritt on February 1st and February 2nd, where they were made and deleted. Is that correct?
Objection leading.
Objection sustained is calling for speculation and conclusions.
Well, we saw that on February 1st and 2nd. Is that correct?
We saw the same activity occur on February 1st and 2nd.
So after the check is deleted at 8:05 p.m. on February 4th, if we go to the cell phone records, that's exhibit 1045.
Okay, yes?
After 8:05 p.m., is there a call to Chase Merritt?
Yes.
What time is that?
At 8:28 p.m., there is a call made to Chase Merritt's cell phone.
Is there anything else you wanted to talk about February 4th on that issue?
For February 4th, nothing else for February 4th.
Is there anything more you wanted to talk about in terms of the checks and the phone records, or do we move on?
I think it's very important to be clear that for the time period.
Objection, no question pending, non-responsive, move to strike.
Sustained on that grounds and cumulative.
What's the next exhibit that you want to go to?
One moment, please.
You want to go to 10D?
Actually, if I could, we missed one. Well, no. I'm sorry. 10.
Your Honor, I'm sorry, what notes are the witness referring to?
So if you can indicate what notes you're referring to.
It's an exhibit list that I have.
Okay.
People were not provided with such, we make a demand for discovery despite numerous requests.
Your Honor, it's appropriate to approach if you wish to approach. We can talk about discovery all we want in front of the jury if you want to go there.
Counsel does have the list of exhibits. What are the actual exhibits here? So you can proceed.
10D?
10D is fine.
Okay. And that, on the back, there should be a number.
Give me a moment to get to 10D, please.
Your Honor, I need to interpose an objection, we need to approach.
All right. We're going to take our noon recess a little bit early, and we'll resume at 1:30. Keep in mind the admonitions previously given to you, not to form or express any opinions about the case, not to discuss the case, or allow anyone to discuss the case with you or in your presence. Again, that means not discussing anything about the case, witnesses, testimony, exhibits, parties, or attorneys, and we'll see everyone back at 1:30.